Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, let's sing it all together this time. E3's future is in question. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including the fate of E3 and Take-Two acquiring Zynga. And then on Thursday, we are predicting the new twist in Mario Kart 9. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
Patrick, I am doing so good. I am basking in the glory of your taco hat.
Oh, thank you. I have a hat that is like a light blue, like a baby blue almost, and it's got a little taco on the front of it. We're saying hat, but it's like a baseball cap.
Right, yeah. Although, look.
Go ahead.
I just had a brilliant idea, and this is not to denigrate the baseball cap at all.
Yeah.
But what if it was like...
a beanie?
What if it was a beanie with a taco on it?
A beanie with a taco on it's pretty good. I mean, the baseball hat with a taco on it is also good. I feel like that it's so close to being, because the taco there's no like language on it. It's not a branded taco.
No.
I feel like it's so close to being the logo-less hat that like the Avengers wear when they go undercover. That like, you know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
That like. It's got like that level of mystique to it, too.
Oh my gosh. I bet when you're wearing it, you look so mysterious.
Mark, you know that I do.
And also, you know, we were saying, what if it was a beanie with a taco? But really, it could be an entire clothing line. Everything you wear
could have a taco on it?
Potentially.
Could have that taco on it?
Yes.
Am I ready for an all taco ensemble?
It would be like when like Steve Jobs' outfit, right?
Right. Rest in peace.
Of course. I mean, of course.
Of course.
But you would wake up in the morning, you would open your closet.
Right.
And you would just be like, what? Taco?
Hanger upon hanger.
Embroidered? Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Do you think he hung up those turtlenecks or are they folded up in a drawer?
Oh, I'm pretty sure his like servant hung it up. I have a feeling Steve Jobs wasn't doing a lot of laundry for himself.
Which begs the question of like, why does he have to enforce this wardrobe thing if he just pays someone to like make the decision for him?
Yeah, and maybe he didn't even launder them. Maybe he just like threw them away, let his dogs play with them. I don't know the Steve Jobs. Allegedly, I don't know if Steve Jobs had dogs.
I always think of there's a scene in the first episode of Mad Men when Don Draper has been out all night, like, you know, with his woman in the city, and he comes into the office and he just pulls a fresh shirt out of like his bottom desk drawer and puts it on, and like it's that same like disposable like, look, he needs a clean shirt, which means he needs a new shirt. And man, I just think that's so cool, and I wonder if Steve Jobs did that with turtlenecks,
just like in his desk at work.
Yeah. But probably in his servant's desk at work. Mark, speaking of things you can just keep in your desk at work, my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. Would you like to borrow it? Someday I'm going to get back around to mailing it out for people to play in their homes. You can borrow it. All you got to do is get on the list and email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com
and give us a mailing address where we can send you my copy of Sonic Forces. And please, make sure that it is an address that the other people who live at the address won't mind you giving away to some weird podcast, right? Like we're not going to send any weird stuff, just Sonic Forces or a copy of Untitled Goose Game in a Sonic Forces box, which I will admit is a little strange. It's a little odd.
Another thing you can do is you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or you can do it on Spotify. And folks, I have to tell you, that last week we put out the call for Spotify reviews. It's a new thing for Spotify. And the fans of Nintendo Cartridge Society, the listeners, I don't want to say everybody's a fan. I'm just going to say the listeners of Nintendo Cartridge Society on Spotify delivered.
Yeah,
you guys came through.
I'm going to go ahead and say the listeners and the fans delivered, because we've got at the point of this recording, 35 reviews.
Yes.
On Spotify, and we are grateful to everyone who has done that. Here's the thing: we cannot shout you out.
I know. Oh, this is devastating.
Yes.
Okay, we're all learning here.
Right.
And I do not subscribe to Spotify, but my husband does. And so I asked him to do a little bit of research this morning to see if we could shout out the people who left us a review. And unfortunately, we can't. Spotify, because there's no like written portion, it is just leaving like a star review.
Yeah.
And so we can't see who reviewed us. So on
And
Spotify.
I think it's possible that the owner of the podcast can see the usernames that review.
Interesting.
But for the purposes of our like production pipeline, we don't manage the feeds. We send them over to Campfire Media and they upload
Right.
them. So again, we just don't have access to that
Yeah,
information.
so-
we're learning.
So one, again, thank you so much to
Yes.
everybody who has left us a review on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, where legitimately wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate it so much. The second part of this is that we're sorry that we can't give you a shout out, but we would still love to give you a shout out.
Yeah.
So hit us up on Twitter, send us an email, let us know that you reviewed us on Spotify, on anywhere, and we will give you a shout out because we love to. We still are checking the US Apple Podcast Store, and we got some new reviews there. So thank you to...
I mean, we didn't get 35 new reviews there, but...
Thank you to PJD82 and Tracy for the iTunes reviews. Thank you so much.
We appreciate every single one of those. We appreciate it wherever and whenever you interact with the podcast. We just love it. It warms our hearts and makes the podcast easier for other people to discover. So we appreciate it. All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. Does any video game podcast have an elegant like name for the segment? Because we all have it, right?
Right.
And it's usually just like, what have we been playing, right?
I mean, I'm open to
Yeah.
other ideas. So if anybody has them,
This is just so like to the point, and it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Well,
just,
maybe that's a
maybe it's just what it
virtue.
should be called, like new releases. Like it's it's
Yeah.
just what it should be called. Mark, what have you been playing this week?
I have been playing Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64 Switch Online. Still, really, I've been alternating my time between Paper Mario, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, and a little bit of Animal Crossing. I truthfully got a little bit burned out on Animal Crossing, while I was trying to unlock Happy Home Paradise.
Which again, just PSA for anyone that is also trying to do that. Just make sure you've downloaded.
Yeah, just
Happy Home
download it
Paradise.
from the
just download
from the
it.
eShop. That's
Yeah.
an important first step.
Yeah.
And so I have been into it, but I haven't been playing that much.
Sure.
But Paper Mario I have been playing a lot of. I am still really enjoying this game. I am not really doing many of the side quests. I got caught up in this like letter exchange side quest thing that's and also there's like an older Koopa in Koopa Village who is like
He
asking
sends
you for
on
favors.
these little tasks. And the first couple of them are like right there in the village and you can knock them out right away, but then they start to get more extensive. You have to go further away to come back to them.
Yeah, so I've kind of put those aside because I was getting a little bored with like the backtracking. Even though the world isn't that big, and there's like a sewer that you can go into, and as you progress in the sewer, or as you progress through the game, and you get like different weapons, you can open up different parts of the sewer, and so you can fast travel to the areas you've been to before. But I get spoilers for Paper Mario, but I am on like Yoshi Island right now, and I just got sushi, and so I think I'm on the 5th of 8 like stars.
Are there 8 or are there 7?
Maybe there's 7. So I'm on the 5th of those like shines or whatever they're called.
I am on the 4th, so I'm in the Shy Guy toy box, which I remember like once I started like getting in there, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this, area, and I remember not really liking it because it keeps sending you back out to like the Toad
Yeah.
Village to like give back the things that the Shy Guys have stolen, which then increases your ability to like explore that space. And then there's like the train thing where like it's like a hub around which there are like 4 little mini levels to explore. And I don't know, the whole thing just felt a little like overwhelming to me in a way that like the rest of the game is so linear that I was like, nah, I don't really want to put the thought into figuring this out.
Yeah,
I will. I just
yeah, no, I agree. I think like the game is on such like a upward trajectory through that point, like up
Yes.
to that point. You know, like you're going through the woods, you have like the spooky house, like all that kind of stuff. Tubba Flubba, like really fun. And then this one is a little bit of a bummer because you're already, like I was saying, like doing some of these side quests, you're already doing a lot of like backtracking and just like
yeah.
moving back and forth, and you can like do this like spin that makes you move faster, but
But when you get to the end of the spin, you sort of like stop, and you can kind of cancel out of it by jumping. So I do a lot of like spin, jump, jump. But it's a weird way to traverse the world.
It is.
It feels like when you're trying to go just a tiny bit faster in Ocarina of Time, so you're rolling everywhere. Or like you do the Z targeting, so you can just like backwards hop all the way somewhere. Which just feels silly. It feels silly.
Yeah, but I am enjoying it, but I agree that like it kind of lost a little bit of momentum in the Shy Guy toy box, and so I was feeling that when I was going into like Yoshi Island, because one of the first things you have to do, again, spoilers, for one of the first things you have to do, I mean, mostly for you, Patrick, 'cause you are about to hit this, but like one of the first things you have to do is like, there's these Yoshi kids and they all go missing, and you have to go track them down. There's 5 of them.
Right.
And it just felt like a little bit tedious. All of that said, still really enjoying the game. Just feel like I've hit a little bit of like a rough patch with it. Let me ask you this, Patrick. You're also playing it. So the way the leveling system works is every time you get like 100 star points, you are able to choose one of 3 options. You either get 5 hit points or health HP.
Yeah.
You get 5 flower points, which is like how you use special abilities.
FP.
And then badge points, which is how you equip
BP.
Yes, which is how you equip these different like boosts and power-ups and all that kind of stuff. These badges that you collect throughout the game. Do you have like a strategy? Do you do it? Have you been leveling up evenly? Have you been focusing on one area more than the other?
My flower points are too low. I have been sinking too many points into HP and BP because I like having the ability to like be flexible with the badge points, but I have both the HP boost and the FP boost badges on, which eats up like 6 of those things. It is as though I didn't level it up for those levels. I don't have a strategy, or I did have a strategy and it was bad, and I wish I had more flower points. What about you?
So I kind of did I flipped your health points for flower points. So I put most of mine into flower points. So I'm at something like 30 flower points, 15 badge points, and I just barely leveled up to 20 HP because I was kind of getting to the point where I was like, ooh, some of these enemies can do like 12,
but those are attacks that you shouldn't be taking. Those are attacks that you should be invisible for.
Oh, by using Lady Bow.
Yes.
To like hide yourself, but I do not like her attacks, and so I haven't been using her.
She can deal 5 points of damage when you level her up.
Only to one enemy.
True.
So when there's like 5 enemies on the screen.
But 5 is so much, and leave the multiple hits to Mario. He's got that like jumping on successive bad guys thing.
Different strategies, clearly.
Who is your favorite of the companion characters? And at this point, I am not interested in their abilities. I'm talking about it on a purely aesthetic level.
I like. Oh man, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name, but it's the Koopa one.
Yeah, he's the best. His name is Cooper.
Yeah, Cooper.
He's the best because he's like a little blue Koopa who's just got a little red bandana. It's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the best. I also think that they knocked it out of the park with the first one you meet. Goombario is
Goombario's great.
He's got a little hat, and the way he walks and sort of like has to chomp as he walks because Goombas are cursed with this strange body where like their mouth is also their legs, and it's like what is happening?
Yeah, God vomited, and there was a
there was a little Goomba. But yeah, he's adorable, and he's wearing a hat, and he's got these big old chompers. I think he's great.
I have also been playing Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. I just got, again, spoilers for Skyward Sword. Just got to the part where I opened the Gate of Time.
Yeah. We mentioned the Gate of Time last week when we were talking about possible connections between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild 2, which seems to have some sort of like time wonkiness in it.
Is this the part? Am I about to reach the part where you were like, oh, this is dragging a little bit? Or have I past that part? Or is it just kind of like from here until the end?
What have you started learning songs?
If I start, oh no, not. Wait, what do you mean?
I mean, there are little pieces of music that you learn on the harp.
Different from just like the ones,
just from like
where you like press A and then strum, like
I
ones
mean,
where you have to be like specific, because that's throughout the entire game.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, that's true. No, there is a part of that quest where, like, there's once you have done you do all three like biomes, right? And then you do all three biomes a second time in like a different order.
Yeah.
And after that is when the game is like, now keep going for kind of a while.
Oh, okay. Here is where
it's amazing that I did this like 2 weeks ago. And I'm already forgetting. But.
Here's what I just did is I had to learn on my Skybird this new like corkscrew attack.
Yes.
So that way I can go into the thunder place and defeat some sort of like eye dragon or something.
Yes.
And I just couldn't psych myself up to like actually do the eye dragon.
Yeah.
And so I kind of left it at that for now.
That's super fun, and I really like fighting that thing. And what it reveals, like what you deal with after that, is also super fun.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, but yeah, I think you are approaching the thing that I was referring to, where it's like, oh yeah, it just kind of like drags itself out for a little too long. So Godspeed in that.
What is it with Zelda games? And because the whole thing right now is I have to collect Triforce pieces.
Yeah.
Right. I have to collect the Triforce before assuming I can do the last thing. And what is about Zelda games and having like this Triforce quest that just really like pads out the experience?
I don't know. Well, because like I get it because this is famously a part of Wind Waker, where the end of the game is really sort of bogged down by a quest where you have to like just sail all over the world and find these different pieces of the Triforce, or find maps to then also in the original release it took forever. And like I get the idea that there's something really attractive about like, okay, you've been all over this world, you understand it now, you are comfortable exploring it, now let's put those exploration skills to the test, and send you back around all those spaces. So like I get that, and there is something attractive about that. I just wish it didn't like take so long or feel so. It doesn't feel new at that point. It's like the fun of exploration is gone. It's just the test of exploration at that point.
Yeah. I am actually surprised at how much I am enjoying Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
I really, really do love it though.
Yeah,
I think it's the complete package.
It's a great game. A listener, Omni Jake, tweeted at me to congratulate me on completing Skyward Sword. Thank you, Omni Jake. And he had mentioned that it was a bummer that there's no left-handed control scheme in the motion controls for Skyward Sword, which is not something that I had considered.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
But like it definitely should be in there, right? Especially like I can see why it wasn't in the initial release, right? Because the Wii Motion Plus was only in the Wii Remote and not in the nunchuck, right?
But couldn't you just
switch hands?
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah, but in the modern control scheme, the Joy-Cons have the same motion sensing capability, so it shouldn't matter. Well observed, Omni Jake. All right, Mark, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
We mentioned it last week that Picross S7 we thought was going to be released. It was not. But yesterday, Picross S7 was finally released in the U.S. And actually, now that I'm saying that out loud,
We did say
January 10th. We
Yeah.
are preemptively putting it in there because this episode doesn't release until Tuesday.
Which is always how the release calendar works, but nothing comes out on Mondays
Right,
on the
usually.
eShop. So
Yeah, that's right.
That's why we usually aren't talking about it. What's the deal with Picross S? Why is it that we don't know exactly when it's coming out and then it comes out on a Monday?
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know.
All right.
There was nothing real else in the new releases that I wanted to specifically shout out. Patrick, was there anything in there?
No.
For you? Okay. So one thing I did want to talk about is that the North American eShop is having a New Year's sale until January 16th, and there's some pretty good deals in there. I actually ended up picking up the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles finally because it's $10 off. It's $29.99 right now.
Yeah, so I have not picked anything up on the sale yet. Looking at this sale, like most times Nintendo first party stuff goes on sale, I'm like, oh man, I bought all these games already. But I just want to shout out that Shin Megami Tensei 5 is $42 down from $60. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is the same. That is one that I have Tropical Freeze on my Wii U, but I've always wanted to play it on Switch. What else is on here? Dragon Quest Builders 2 is down to $34.99 from $50. That's one that, remember, I played a lot of the Jumbo demo back in the day and was like, I should get this full game, but didn't because it was $50.
Yeah.
And now may be the time to pull the trigger on that.
The other one I'll shout out is Katamari Damacy Reroll, which is normally $30. It goes on sale pretty often, and it's $7.50 right now. I had not played this game on PlayStation. It wasn't until it was released on Switch that I experienced it, but absolutely love this game.
Yeah, $7.50 is a good price for just about any game, really. What else is on here that's like really, really good and undeniable?
I got nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, Box Boy Box Girl, great.
Yeah, but I mean, it's normally $10 is down to $7. Like that's good, but like
Tetris Effect Connected.
Tetris Effect Connected. That's a great game. It's a $26.79 down from $40.
And Untitled Goose Game is $10, but why waste your money when you can just maybe possibly accidentally borrow it from the Sonic Forces borrowing program?
And also, Untitled Goose Game frequently gets knocked down to like $10. So, but yeah. It's a good deal. All right, Mark. Let's get out of the new releases. How does this transition work? Let's get out of the new releases.
Yeah, sounds great.
And now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers did not play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Of the piece. Thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, the prompt today is, you're going to the bakery. What are you picking up?
So first,
yes,
I'd love to know the genesis of this question.
So Sarah and I this weekend made some garlic confit, which is like a like oily spreadable garlic thing. And
you basically just like melt, like you just like bake garlic until it's ooze, right?
I mean, we did it in like a saucepan on the stovetop with like oil and like bay leaves and rosemary and stuff. And so it is this like, really appealing garlicky paste, but like you can't just like eat, you can't just eat it. You gotta like spread it on something. So I was given the task today to go to the bakery, my local bakery called the Village Bakery, to get a loaf of bread so that we, like a fresh baked bread.
Sounds like the start of like a fairy tale.
Or Les Mis, right? I didn't steal it, but I did show up too late and they were out of bread. But normally, Mark, when you go to a bakery, right? When you're like, I'm going to treat myself, go into the bakery. What are you picking up when you go? Do you have like a go-to bakery?
There are two things that are on my mind when I'm at a bakery. A muffin, a good muffin.
Yeah.
Whether it be lemon poppy seed,
Ooh.
whether it be blueberry. I'm a big blueberry muffin fan. Or I got croissants on my mind.
Croissants, look, man, there are very few scenarios where you like encounter a croissant where like it's a croissant. You know what I mean? Where like it's gonna be good. But if you're going to a bakery, they're gonna have them and they're gonna be good.
They're gonna be very good. So those are my go-tos.
Those are good calls. Do you have go-to bakeries?
Not.
You haven't been in your current place too long.
No, not really. That's something we should really figure out. We haven't prioritized hunting down good bakeries.
And tough now just in the world the way it is to like find a new bakery or try going into places. We've got a couple bakeries near us that like we've got Proof Bakery, which is cool but like almost a little too cool. Like it is a hip bakery. The Village Bakery, which I like a lot, and then there is also Just What I Needed over in Frogtown here, which is a vegan bakery. And so I like going there and getting like quiches and stuff where it's like they're good at like faking all the stuff that you need to fake to bake vegan stuff. But croissant, a great go-to. I gotta say, if I'm going to a bakery, I'm gonna have a cup of coffee. I am a coffee addict. I have to have it like every day, or like I am upset, get a headache. But when I drink coffee at home, it's utilitarian, right?
Right.
Like I'm just maintaining the machine.
No, you don't enjoy it.
No,
You're
I
sucking
do.
it down
I do
your
enjoy
gullet.
it. I do enjoy it. But it's not
trying to make it through another day.
But yeah, no, like I will take the opportunity to like have a nice bakery cup of coffee
and like savor it.
Yeah, really savor it. What about you? So your muffin go-tos, you said poppy seed. Was that it? Lemon poppy seed?
Well, I would say probably I love lemon poppy seed.
Mm-hmm.
My go-to is probably blueberry because those are, for whatever reason, are usually more available.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, I don't like chocolate muffins. Chocolate bread, not my thing.
A chocolate muffin sounds like it should be good. And in fact, maybe it is, but you just have to like calibrate your mind for cake.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, so chocolate for breakfast I can't do because when I was in high school, there was
origin story here.
Yeah, there was a girl who sat in front of me in one of my like first classes, and I just remember being every day she had a chocolate muffin. I just remember being like so tired. I just remember being so tired and having like the smell of that like chocolate muffin.
Right.
It has forever put me off chocolate for breakfast.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I can't do it.
What about like a pain au chocolat, like a chocolate croissant?
No, I don't. I
like a chocolate croissant.
I don't want it. What about Cocoa Puffs? Oh, well, I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know about Cocoa Puffs. We were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
This week is AGDQ 2022.
Awesome games done quick.
That's right. It's the speedrunning marathon that raises money for the Prevent Cancer Foundation. It goes through, I think it started on Sunday, or maybe Monday, but goes through Saturday night Pacific time. Some runs I'm looking forward to. Yesterday there was a Metroid Prime Hunters run.
Ooh.
Which I was watching the replay of it today. I had it on in the background, which was fun because I realized that I don't really know Metroid Prime Hunters. It's kind of like Doom a little bit, or like Quake.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the hardware that it's on, it has to be like a pretty simple version of Metroid Prime, and it remains one of the more like remarkable tech demos on the original DS. And yeah, I always think about like. I've got like I've played Hunters, but not all the way through. I maybe played like 3 online matches and then was like, forget this. But yeah, like Hunters, Federation Forces on the 3DS, and Prime Pinball are all games that like I wish I could like go back and give an honest try to.
Yeah,
and I guess we could on the show. Like we could do that. We could arrange that.
So that was a fun one. Today there's a Final Fantasy 13 run that I'm interested in. Dead Rising, which seems like a fun game to see sped run.
Well, especially because there's so much of it that is like dependent on the in-game clock.
Right, exactly. And then Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, which is another like Nintendo game that I'm not familiar with at all.
Yeah. Yep.
On Wednesday, Diddy Kong Racing, Splatoon 2, and a 3DS Zelda. They're doing like a auction, basically, like a competition to choose between whether they're going to play Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask.
Do you know what the Splatoon 2 are they doing? Just the
they're doing
campaign?
the story, yeah,
Okay,
the campaign.
cool.
Yep. And then there's like a cluster of Castlevania games on Thursday. On Friday, Stardew Valley, Super Mario 3D Land, and Wario Land Shake It are being played. And then on Saturday, Fallout New Vegas and Legend of Zelda Link to the Past. It goes 24 hours a day for the entire week. So there are so many runs that I didn't call out here. Check out the schedule at gamesdonequick.com. I always think it's a lot of fun.
I didn't realize there was a Wario Land Shake It run on here. I am definitely going to check that out. I love that game. I feel like it doesn't get enough sort of like attention or like people focusing on how to the deep dive into it. So I'll check that one out for sure.
So this next bit, not strictly Nintendo, but yesterday Take-Two Interactive announced they're acquiring Zynga, which I'm assuming is the genesis for Sheldon's famous catchphrase.
Buzzinga?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
For $12.7 billion, which, wow, that is a lot of money.
Yeah, well, and just to put the sort of like players here into to get some context here, Take-Two is who is Take-Two? Take-Two does they
have like
Grand
2K
Theft
games,
Auto.
right?
Yep.
Exactly. So they have Rockstar,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also have 2K games for like 2K sports franchises,
Right. So
they have like BioShock. Like they're large.
They're large, and it's a lot of like big mainstream games that are that sort of like transcend the like sort of like niche gamer like identity. Earlier we were talking about listeners versus fans. I feel like this it goes from like game fans to just like people who play games.
Yeah, totally. They're also kind of like the last of the big like North American publishers who don't own a mobile unit. Like you know, EA bought PopCap, Activision Blizzard King bought King, and now
which is Candy Crush and like those kind of
right,
games.
Right, exactly. So now Take-Two is purchasing Zynga.
And Zynga is almost even like I know you just said king, so this is confusing, but Zynga is like the king of like the hyper casual game. Like they're Farmville.
Yeah, they've been around forever.
They're Words with Friends, like the kind of games that like everyone is just like playing quietly in the background. So yeah, $12.4 billion.
Yeah, compare that to 12.7. Compare that to Microsoft just bought Bethesda not that long ago for $7.5 billion. But you know, I mean, there's no real mystery as to why Take-Two bought them. It's one for, of course, their like large library of existing mobile games. Two, their expertise in these free-to-play mobile games, which are a successful one is a money machine. And Take-Two has tons of franchises that they could parlay into mobile titles. Plus, they have tons of like franchises that I'm sure they will leverage Zynga's expertise in free to play on, like their console games. So, but the consolidation in the industry continues to bum me out.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's one giant swallowing another giant, like it just means that we have now mega giants. So yeah, that is a little upsetting.
Nintendo dropped an English language trailer for the new Pokemon game, which seems to be a cut-down version of the 6-minute Japanese trailer released last week for Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Yes, that's right. So one of the I don't know if it's a revelation, but just we've been saying Arceus on this show, but the narration at the end of this video definitely said Arceus with the hard C, like K sound, Arceus, and not Arceus. A couple things from this trailer that I just wanted to shout out that seemed notable to me. I don't know if these are things that like the gaming community at large has been aware of or what. But fun little discussion points nonetheless. The narration mentions fierce battles can happen at any time, which feels to me like there is no distinction between like the tall grass and not in the tall grass, which has always been sort of a Pokemon staple. If you don't want to encounter enemy Pokemon, you just stay on the path. Not true in this game. There's a point where a trainer does a dodge roll to avoid an incoming Pokemon attack. Again, one of the things that we mentioned about this game on Thursday's episode is kind of remains to be seen what it's like, what it means that your trainer can be attacked by enemy Pokemon. It's cool to see that you can dodge. So like there's some action game element here. Part of the narration says collecting materials and crafting will be pivotal to success, which I'm looking for a job right now, so that sounds like a bullet point in a job description.
Oh, totally.
Right?
That's something where you like see that in a job description and then you go to your resume and you basically just restate that.
Yeah.
Experience collecting materials and crafting.
And found success, yes. But it also, under that narration, showed a trainer summoning a Snorlax to like chop down a tree. So like that's pretty cool, and not something that I associate with normal Pokemon gameplay, is having to gather things and craft with them. So that was this short little trailer for a game that I am getting a little bit more interested in.
Worked with stakeholders to improve yield in collecting materials and crafting.
Yeah, that's right. Coordinated with multiple departments too.
Friend of the show June texted me this week saying, is this game delayed, or is Nintendo just kind of sitting on their hands with it? It does feel, I mean, I know we're still, about a little more than 2 weeks out, and so maybe stuff will begin to ramp up, but it does feel like it's been kind of quiet for a game that when it was announced felt like it was a major event.
Yeah, well, and especially like with Pokemon games too, right? Like I feel like by the time a Pokemon game comes out, we have seen like so many videos about individual little changes and all kinds of stuff like that. I don't know if that means that there's some element of mystery that they want to keep about this game before it actually hits the shelves, or if it's just like it's better experienced than explained. But yeah, it does seem like they've been kind of quiet.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because there are a lot of avenues for them talking about the games that I'm not tuned into.
Sure.
And in looking back on it, it's not like I was paying a special attention to a Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but it just felt like there was more discussion about those games, like more previews and all that kind of stuff, like leading up to it. But again, maybe we're just on the cusp of that all beginning to roll out.
I mean, yeah, I think that's probably it, is that we will see more of it in the weeks to come. But I mean, if Nintendo is pushing something, you and I see it, right? Like, because we're combing through Nintendo news every week to kind of like assemble this show, and just it's the stuff that we think about and like. So yeah, I think there definitely is an absence of publicity for it so far, and I wonder if some of that is just part of like, we had the holiday and the the new year and all of that. So they're really just getting back into the swing of doing that now.
Yeah, and I mean, they did just have a Pokemon game come out.
Great point.
6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. So,
which is also still wild. Like, why are they releasing these things on top of each other?
Yeah, it is really interesting. The ESA, I know this is going to shock everybody, announced last week that there will be no in-person E3 event in 2022. And while that's not like particularly surprising, it did unfold in a kind of a weird way.
I like anything the ESA does and anything related to E3. I have questions, and it's just like, why isn't this normal? Like, why? Well, there's no like clear messaging, or like there's no ability to like trace it back to like something that makes sense. Why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening the way that we expect it to? Is there going to be a digital event? No one knows at this point. It's all very curious.
Yeah. So they put out a statement saying this is from the ESA saying, quote, due to the ongoing health risks surrounding COVID-19 and its potential impact on the safety of exhibitors and attendees, E3 will not be held in person in 2022. We remain incredibly excited about the future of E3 and look forward to announcing more details soon.
We remain incredibly excited about the future of E3. It tells us nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like, is the future of E3 what they are going to do this summer, or does that mean 2023? What does that mean? What is the future of E3?
Right. Well, and IGN's Rebecca Valentine pointed out that there were never any firm dates ever set for E3 2022, and the event never appeared on the LA Convention Center's calendar. So it's unclear if like the ESA even booked,
Right.
a time for E3 at all.
Right. Even though, and this is the next bullet point, but I'm just going to bring it up, that LA Mayor Eric Garcetti gave a speech during the digital E3 last year saying that they are welcoming them back to LACC in 2022. So, seemingly at that point, the messaging that was given to him was that they would
had
be
the
coming
intention
back.
to do it for sure.
Right. And so he probably just reiterated that as a certainty. They are coming back. But, both ESA's Twitter and their website don't really, they don't have that same messaging on the same timeline. And in years past, they've announced next year's E3 at the close of the show.
Right.
So were we ever going to have an in-person E3 this year?
Yeah.
COVID be damned,
Yeah, it's hard to tell. When pressed by GamesBeat, the ESA said that they are, quote, excited about the possibilities of an online event.
Oh, boy. Okay. We have all the points of data. What do we think?
I struggle to I struggle to see the benefit for anybody of a digital E3. Last year's did not seem like it was particularly successful.
Here's the thing. We did get a Nintendo Direct out of it.
Yes. I mean, for selfish reasons, I hope that there is an E3 because then that will kind of corner Nintendo, make them have an E3 Direct. Because, in 2020, when there was no digital E3, there was no Nintendo Direct that year.
Yeah. I mean,
But all the big announcements, or all the news from E3 came from last year, came from the E3 adjacent stuff, like Microsoft's conference, Nintendo's conference, which technically weren't part of, E3.
Right. They were sort of just coordinated to happen at that same time. It's so, I think we are seeing the pandemic and the restrictions placed on us by the pandemic sort of taking out our weaker institutions, right? So E3 sort of on its last legs already. It's going down swinging, occasionally there was no E3 in 2020. They did a digital thing that was the stuff around it ended up being bigger than it last year. And now this year we don't know what its fate is. You can see the same thing in the Golden Globes, right? They weren't televised this year. There wasn't even really a ceremony.
Well, that's because,
but it's a lot of things though, because just knowing that there are bigger hurdles to putting on events that people didn't want to put on in the first place, they're just all right, well then forget it. We're just not doing it. And I think about what you and I experience in LA, doing comedy and seeing UCB has not come back in any way after COVID, even as other theaters are opening up or groups are doing shows. They're just not doing them at UCB, and all but one of the theaters shut down. And so I think anything that was sort of struggling in the event space before is going to struggle even more coming back from this.
Yeah, you really have to be motivated and have a purpose and a reason and a fan base that wants it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, at this point, coming back is basically launching a new product.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I feel like I've predicted this every year, for the past 3 years, but I really do think this is probably the end of E3.
Yeah, That's my guess as well. I always like E3. It's always super fun. I like that it's right here in Los Angeles, so you and I can go to it. That's fun. I like going to that thing with you. But if we got to find some other kind of video game conference to go to somewhere else, that could be fun too.
Yeah, and I think I think something from the ESA will emerge after the pandemic, but I think like E3 as we knew it is probably done and buried.
Probably done.
A game industry biz predictions piece has added fuel to the rumor fire of a new Mario Kart game coming to Switch. Dr. Sirkin Toto of Kantan Games makes a couple of 2022 predictions, including, quote, Nintendo announces Mario Kart 9 and a new mobile game.
So that's it. This whole piece is part of a bunch of other predictions that industry insiders and that analysts, yes, are making. And the idea of Mario Kart 9 floated in this prediction.
His exact quote on the subject is quote, I am aware Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still selling very well on the Nintendo Switch, but Mario Kart 9 is in active development and comes with a new twist, and Nintendo could tease it this year. On mobile, Nintendo has been very silent since Mario Kart Tour's launch in 2019, but I think 2022 is when we will see an established IP arriving on smart devices again.
Okay, so my first question about the wording of his prediction, which is, again, just to reiterate, I am aware Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is selling very well on Nintendo Switch, but Mario Kart 9 is in active development, and it comes with a new twist. Is that like based on information, or is that just sort of like the confident language you use when you're making predictions?
Who has any idea?
No way to know.
No way to know. I mean, it's a smart bet that Mario Kart 9 is in development. The fact that he says that it has a new twist, that makes me think that he heard that from somebody.
Sure.
Right? Because, I mean, I guess you could just be speculating that.
I mean, new twist is vague enough to mean almost nothing.
Nudity.
Right? No. And I mean, maybe, but save that for your prediction for Thursday's episode.
That's right.
We are going to come up with a bunch of different ideas of what this new twist could be, and then I think we're going to narrow it down to what it actually will be. Right?
That's right.
We're going to figure it out.
I do think it, like, this one quote set off like 1,000 internet articles.
Yeah, it did. I was following like one article, hyperlinking to another until I got back to this prediction thing. But this is sort of like a case study in how one person pontificating about something they think they kind of know and is really just being more confident because the piece is a prediction piece turns into a bunch of different articles that all feel real.
Right, and because you're like hearing it from everywhere,
yes,
you're like, well, of course Mario Kart 9 is coming and it's going to have some crazy new twist.
Right. So, look, are we going to make an episode about the crazy new twist in Mario Kart 9? Absolutely. Is it real? There's no way to know.
On the other part of his prediction is about mobile games, which I think is an interesting point. My memory is that in maybe 2019 we heard discussion, probably not from Nintendo themselves, but like whispers that like there was some sort of Zelda mobile thing in development, and nothing has come of that. I mean, he's very right. It has been a long time since we've heard anything about a mobile game from Nintendo.
If we're not counting Pikmin.
Which I am not.
Okay. Because it's Niantic.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, no. That's a fair point. But that felt different. Well, I guess all of it, they've had a smattering of what things could be. But yeah, it felt like for a while it was like one a quarter. You know, every few months we were getting some new Nintendo title, whether it was like a tie-in with Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, whether it was something entirely new like Dragalia Lost, and then kind of just like crickets. Yeah,
well, I mean, and we also saw like the rise and fall of Dr. Mario World, right? Like all of that game's entire lifespan. Because remember, it is gone now. That game doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, it's just weird to think that like we saw the whole life cycle of one of their mobile games from birth to death, and haven't really heard anything new.
But do you think it is because they've been like cooking up something, like big and crazy, or do you think it's just because it never felt to me like their heart was really in the mobile space. And so when they've had a lot of success in other areas expanding, their IP like they like to talk about, that they just kind of, and they never really found success on mobile, and there was no longer the investor pressure that they had during the Wii U era.
Right.
They were just kind of like, let's just not worry about this that much.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not as though they continue to have like events and stuff in Mario Kart Tour, and there's always new stuff about Fire Emblem, not Heroes. Is it Heroes? Fire Emblem Heroes?
Yes.
Wait, that's not the Fire Emblem Warriors is the Muso game. Fire Emblem Heroes and Dragalia Lost, they're all sort of always having events. So like those 3 games are still sort of like inactive.
And Pocket Camp.
Yeah, and Pocket Camp and Pikmin Bloom. So like I don't know, maybe they have a thriving mobile ecosystem and we're just not really tuned into it.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. So I have heard online that some people refer to whatever the next Mario Kart game as Mario Kart 10, since Tour
What's this now?
is what they're counting as 9.
Well, then what are we calling Mario Kart Live home circuit? Is that not
the logic goes that Mario Kart Tour was made by like the core Mario Kart team. I think this is crazy.
I think it's crazy too. I think you're right. But also, let's get away from the numbers.
Go back to Double Dash, right? We had a Grand Prix in there,
right? Quadruple Dash. No, but I mean, like seriously, we only started numbering them at 7, right? 7 and 8 are the only ones that are numbered. And 8 got 2 separate releases as 2 separate games. So like, let's stop it. We've messed it up now.
Well, I also feel like because usually it's the reverse. Usually they franchises start out by numbering them, and then there's like so many that they like hide the number in shame. Like Call of Duty started doing that,
Yeah, well, and like it makes sense. Like Mario Kart 8, like what other Nintendo game has a number that high in it?
A Mario Party. No,
they stopped. Mario Party,
yep.
Mario Party, Superstars.
Yeah.
And I guess you are right though. They got up to 10, right? Did we get up to 10?
I am pretty sure they got up to 10. Yeah.
Okay, that's too many. I'm so glad there's no Mario Party 11.
that would be the breaking point.
That's the breaking point.
When
it's
we
not
run out
Final
of fingers,
Fantasy.
yeah. In that same prediction piece, Piers Harding Rolls from Ampere Analysis speculates that Nintendo's next-gen console will release in 2024. Kind of splitting the difference between what you and I were saying on Thursday. I'm a firm believer in a 2023 release. You feel that 2025 is more Nintendo speed. Piers coming in with
hold on. I don't know if it's more Nintendo speed. I think that's the world speed.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nintendo probably would like to. Nintendo would have liked to have had a new Switch out last year, and they sort of did in the OLED, but it was not, the beefed up model. I think Nintendo will run at the world speed because it is forced to, but maybe 2024 is what that'll actually look like.
I mean, I think you're both wrong, and I think we're going to see it in 2023, but
I'm sticking to 2025.
I don't really know Piers Harding Rolls, like track record or anything like that, but just thought it was interesting.
Yep.
We're only a couple of weeks away from the release of Windjammers 2 on January 20th. And if you're anything like Patrick,
that's right.
You're aware of the original, but don't really understand its impact in the arcade sports gaming community. And really, me either. Well, developer Dotemu has released a 27-minute documentary on their YouTube channel detailing the development of the sequel. And Patrick, you say it's a good watch, and has you excited to check out the new one?
I'm sorry to have written a news item from my own perspective and then make you read it, Mark. But yeah, that's I know Windjammers sort of by reputation, right?
Right.
That it is
same.
Like a Pong-esque sort of volleyball with frisbees kind of game that like came out on the Neo Geo and in arcades originally, and has that very like sort of SNK sort of like hot arcade action vibe to it. But I've never actually played it, and I've never even seen a Windjammers machine in real life. But the the documentary, which is just on their YouTube page, is very good, and goes a long way towards sort of explaining what the appeal of the original game is and the lengths that they go to recreate that feel in the new game. One of the things that they point out like really early on in the doc is that there's no physics engine in the original game because it's a 32-bit Neo Geo game, and that's before like physics engines really existed. And so in the new game, it's also not a physics engine. Like all of the collision things are all pre-programmed. So like if something's hitting at this angle, it has to bounce off at the angle that they prescribe instead of whatever the physics of it would dictate. So just little things like that to show you how they are preserving the spirit of the original while delivering something new, but the new isn't alienating, it's only additive and modernizing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Windjammers 2 has been in development for a while, right? Like I feel like it's
since
been
like
pushed back.
2017, I think. Yeah, they have footage in this from years and years ago. And it's just it's great. Evidently, Windjammers is a big game in like the French arcade gaming community, which is why Dotemu, a French developer, is developing the sequel. So yeah, it's cool to get like a lot of interviews with the original Japanese developers of the Neo Geo game and also the French developers of the sequel, and just get all those like perspectives together and see this cool new game that's coming out.
That does sound cool. Nintendo Switch Online subscribers in Japan currently have access to Golf Story. The free trial became available starting on January 7th and remains accessible until the 14th. Now, it is not available in North America, but that doesn't mean we can't speculate on whether this means anything for the release date of Sports Story.
Yeah, this is another thing that we talked about last week. Sports Story is one of the games that we have on our watch list for coming out this year, 2022. But we haven't really heard anything from them in a while.
I mean, do we even know if they're even targeting 2022?
We have no idea.
Heard anything, right?
I mean, it was supposed to come out in 2021, but was delayed out of the year. And like kind of early too, right? It was supposed to be like August, maybe summer probably. And so yeah, just like, why is Nintendo Japan like drumming up excitement for Golf Story? Like, what's happening there?
Right. I mean, two things is one. I'm blanking on the game, but we had maybe it was Don't Starve. Yeah, I think it was Don't Starve. There was a Nintendo Switch Online in North America free trial for Don't Starve not that long ago. And then while that was happening in the Indie World Showcase,
Don't Starve Together
was like given a shout out. So that's not nothing. But two, I don't think this is anything.
You don't think this is anything?
I don't. I think Golf Story, which I played and really loved, has like such a good reputation that I don't think it's going to be like a stealth release. I think we're going to there'll be a little bit of like tease before it comes out.
Yeah, but a game like that can also be stealth released, right?
That's true. The internet would blow up.
People
would be excited.
Break the internet.
I would love it. I'd love it if Sports Story just like surprise dropped on the 14th or something like that. And finally, we got the announcement of a new Tetris Maximus Cup in Tetris 99. This time more than a couple of days in advance, and enough time that we can talk about it on this show.
Because they keep announcing them on like Tuesday morning, well after we've recorded the show. And so Mark has to text me on like Friday afternoon being like, oh my God, did you see this? And I go, no, I didn't see it. And then I got a top.
Yeah, this one's actually really far out. So running we're going to have the opposite problem. We're going to have to remind ourselves that this is happening. But
there's no making us happy.
Running January 21st to January 25th, there will be a Pokemon Legends Arceus themed Tetris Maximus Cup. As always, if you score 100 points, you get that theme permanently. Love these little things. Always a good reason to go back into Tetris Maximus Cup.
Yeah, and I've been slipping back into Tetris 99 sort of consistently since the last Maximus Cup. It's just so fun, and every time I think since I started playing again, I've gotten like 3 or 4 Tetris Maximuses, and it just feels so good every time I do it.
Now, remind somebody like me who has never gotten a Tetris Maximus.
Yeah.
What that is, I've already forgotten.
That's first place.
Oh, okay, got it.
That's when you vanquished 98 other Tetris opponents all at once. They take you on all at once, and you bat them all away. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts, and give us a rating on Spotify. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter. We appreciate it when you do that kind of thing. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.
I'm Brian Husky. I'm bald.
And I'm Charlie Sanders, and I'm also bald. And we host Bald Talk on the Campfire Media Network.
Bald Talk is the podcast where two bald comedians talk to anyone bald about being bald.
But this show isn't just for baldies, Brian. Harrows will love it too.
Bald Talk gets into vulnerability, vanity, insecurity, and self-acceptance, reminding us that we all have our respective bald spots. Not that bald spots are a bad thing.
No way. I mean, my entire head is one big bald spot.
It is one huge, beautiful bald spot, Charlie.
Get Bald Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
I mean, I have like a little bit of hair, but not like you. Like, you're really bald.
I'm truly bald.
Great. I mean, it's
I'm
great.
balder than you.
You are balder than me.
Only on Bald Talk. Campfire.